it's Dana and welcome back to day 2 of the holiday card series for 2020. We're going to be working with some embossing powder today and a gorgeous stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. So this stamp set is the Prismatic Snowflakes. I absolutely love these snowflakes. They are stunningly beautiful. And we're going to do this on navy cardstock and a little bit of silver embossing powder. Now the navy cardstock is Nautical cardstock from Hero Arts, and I'm using the silver embossing powder also from Hero Arts. So I have my little guillotine trimmer here, and I'm just trimming down my cardstock to a standard size card panel, which is 4.25 by 5.5. And then I'm going to trim off another quarter on each side. We are going to be making a cute little shaker card today. So I want to actually have some white of the background of the card showing. So now since we have that done, we can go ahead and start building up this beautiful snowflakes. I have my mini Misty here, and I'm going to place down my cardstock. First, I decided to place it in a corner, and then I was like, nope, I need a lot of snowflakes, like a lot of snowflakes. I believe I used every single snowflake that is in this stamp set because I absolutely love this stamp set. We all know that every snowflake is not the same, but these are just so gorgeous. They're like elegant, and they're like really modern, almost like retro snowflakes to me. And I'm a really retro kind of chick. I love like mid-century modern furniture. So these snowflakes are right up my alley. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of snowflakes, but it's going to look so pretty, I promise you. So if you have a card panel, fill it up with snowflakes. There's nothing better than pretty snowflakes on a card panel. So I'm just arranging my snowflakes on exactly where I want them on my card. Now, you guys have heard me say before, when you're designing something with a background stamp or you're making your own pattern background, make sure that your images run off of the cardstock, because that's how it would really look if you had just purchased designer paper like the 6x6 paper pads. The design would run off the paper. So keep that in mind when you're making your own background. Make sure to take that design off the paper so it just doesn't look like it's sitting there floating. As you can see, I moved up my panel just a little bit so I can get that design to run off of the page. Now, there are going to be areas I'm going to have to fill in, especially where the big magnet is. I can't stamp right there now because that's actually holding my paper in place, but I can stamp there after I stamp the first round of snowflakes. Now, if you missed day 1, make sure to go back and rewatch or watch that one. We did a very fun and colorful card using My Favorite Things products, and I'll make sure to link it as well above so you guys can check that out as well. Now, since I have all my snowflakes in place, like I said, I'm going to heat emboss this. So I am going to get my embossing bag. And this is just like baby powder, talcum powder in a bag. And it helps all of your embossing powder not to stick to any paper that might have like an electric charge to it. Now I'm going to grab my VersaMark, which is a clear sticky ink, which helps us to heat emboss with embossing powder. And I'm going to put that all over my snowflakes. Now, if you hear a little bit of tipping in the background, that is my puppy Remy. He's very curious today, so he keeps walking in and out of my room. So pardon me if you can hear his little nails on our wood floors. After I have all my snowflakes in place, I'm pressing them down with this little homemade little gadget that I saw Gina Kay had. One of our friends made one, so I showed it to my husband and asked him to help me make one, and that helps me to press down on my Misty lid without having to use the force of my hand, because sometimes stamping a lot I get a little bit of wrist discomfort. So this really helps me press down without having to use too much strength of my hands or my wrist. So once I have that pressed down, I'm just making sure that I can see the blue from the VersaMark, so I know I have good impressions. Now I'm going to remove that magnet and place in the last two small-ish snowflakes. Now, excuse my head, it's in the way. And yes, y'all, this was a bad hair day. I woke up and just did video, so there you have it. Not a makeup day, and my hair is in a bun. So no pretty hairdos. Anyway, back to the card. I'm going to go ahead and put down the last two of those snowflakes right where that magnet was sitting. I can remove all of those other snowflakes that we already used for the card and put those aside. Now, again, I don't know off the top of my head how many snowflakes are in this set, but let's just say there's a bunch. Okay, let's just say that. There's enough to make a million cards in a million ways. And I believe Christina Warner designed these, and I absolutely love these snowflakes. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit more VersaMark here, swing over my misty lid. I'm going to press down just with my wrist because I'm lazy. I didn't feel like grabbing my little tool again. I'm going to do that one more time just to make sure, again, I have a good impression, because I don't want to put embossing powder on this and then realize I don't have a good impression. So there you can see like the watermark-ish look by just using the VersaMark. Now that would be beautiful as well if you just want a subtle design. You can really just use VersaMark just for that subtle design. But in my case, and usually I would have to say, anytime I use VersaMark, I always heat emboss with it. So I just want to fill up one tiny little area at the bottom that did not have a design running off of the panel. So I'll go ahead and place one more little snowflake there, press that down, and now we're good to go. So now you can really see the blue or the tone on tone just by using the VersaMark. I'll go ahead and move my Misty out of the way. And now I'm going to bring in my silver embossing powder. I love silver and navy together. I just think it's a very classic Christmas look. You can also use gold, and I also love rose gold with navy. I think that's very pretty as well. So I'm going to pour the embossing powder towards the top of the card panel, and then I'll just kind of like tap and shake and let it fall down. That's the best way to get a lot of coverage all at once. And then I just need to go back in and fill in the areas that the waterfall of embossing powder did not hit. Now, what would also be beautiful with this is if you kept some of them with just the VersaMark, and then you did some of them with the silver. That would be stunning, absolutely stunning. And I would tell you, even though there's snowflakes on here, I think this would be a very pretty masculine holiday card. So keep that in mind. You know, we also make cards for our gentleman friends, and I make cards for my husband. And using a snowflake, especially this kind of modern design snowflake, you can really pull this off with a masculine card. I'm just double checking to make sure I have embossing powder everywhere that I need it. I'll move my embossing powder out of the way, and then I'm going to heat up my gun before I bring it to my paper. Remember, I tell you guys that all the time. Make sure your gun is nice and hot. Your heat gun's nice and hot, so when you bring it to the paper, it helps melt the embossing powder faster, and it gives you less warping on your paper. I also heat from back to front, front to back, just to make sure that I'm not keeping the gun in one place too long. And it also helps to heat up the embossing powder when you do it in the back and in the front. So as you can see, this beautiful silver is popping off of this navy cardstock. Now, I would love to see this also in maybe plum and gold. I think would look stunning. And I did make a card over on the Heroes blog that they use gold and plum, and it's absolutely, that color combination is absolutely gorgeous. So just remember, you don't always have to have red and green cards for the holidays. Think outside the box, add some pretty colors. You'll see a card later this week where I just don't have the typical Christmas colors. So now, since I have all that heated, look how beautiful, absolutely how beautiful these snowflakes are. Now, I don't know if this has dies, but if it does, I'm going to have to pick them up from Simon. Now what I want to do is have a little bit of an opening, because remember I said I'm going to turn this into a shaker card. So I used the oval wood grain frames from Hero Arts because I like the texture of this, and I think the wood texture works great with these snowflakes. So again, remember I said masculine card, wood grain always reminds me of a masculine card. So just using just this tad bit of texture in my card really is going to step this card up a little bit. So here you can see the snowflakes, but you can also see the wood grain come through from that die. And I think it absolutely looks stunning together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out again out of navy cardstock because I want to really build up that frame. So we're just going to, end up gluing 3 frames together. Again, you can use foam tape if you want to. I like to use my cardstock because it keeps all the color the same. And now I have it stacked and it's nice and thick, and it really will pop off of that card. All right, so now let's get into working with the shaker components of this. Now I have a piece of acetate that has a little bit of glitter in it. I tried this, I saw Jennifer McGuire do it with laminating pouches and glitter. So I gave it a try. It was not as successful as Jennifer, but I did get some good pieces that I can use. I think I had the wrong laminating pouches for this because it just made everything very cloudy. So I don't think I'm using the right laminated pouches. But anywho, I was able to save some of the pieces to make that glittery background without having glitter on my hands. So I just trimmed down a little piece of that, and I'm going to place that behind the opening of our shaker. So instead of just looking right through clear acetate, we're going to have a little bit of sparkle behind that. And I think that just looks so pretty. I'm going to give this technique another try, but I need to talk to Jennifer to see what in laminating pouches I really need to be using. All right, now I have my mega roll of 3M foam tape. And to give my shaker some height, I'm going to double up my foam tape. So I just kind of bend it back on itself and then trim it down. Now this, the sides of the shaker card are kind of narrow, so I am going to trim down this wider foam tape. Now, if you have thinner foam tape, you don't have to do this. You can totally skip this step. And I really probably need to get me some thinner tape, but I always have a tendency to go to this roll for some reason every time I'm purchasing. Now I can trim that down and I can just remove the backing and get all of this backed up. Now this again is going to give me the height for my shaker card, and I'm going to try to make sure I don't have any gaps or openings because I don't want any of my sequins to be falling out. So I'm just peeling off the back, and I peel off the backer on both sides. That allows me to bend my tape a little bit better. So again, I'm just going to place the tape on the outskirts of that circle, not very close to the circle because I really don't want you to see the tape through the window. So I'm kind of bending it a little bit away from the edge. Again, I just don't want to see that tape. So I'll go ahead and finish that up for the other side. And I'm going to make some thinner strips to go on the side because again, the sides are a little bit narrow. Once I have all of my, it looks a hot mess, I know, but nobody's going to see that. Once I have all of my tape in place, we are ready to start the shaker bit part. Now I went ahead and I glued back in that wood grain frame that we had. And now I'm just going to place this over my white card base because I want to make sure that I insert the piece that cut from the center. I want to put that back on the card. We don't want to waste that. So I'll grab the a little bit of washi tape first because I need to close my card. So when I put this all together, my card doesn't spring open with the sequins on it. Now I'll grab back in the panel that we cut, and I'm just kind of hovering. I'm not pushing this down. I'm kind of hovering over where the oval part's going to be. And then I'm going to lay in that circle again, just so it kind of lines up with my snowflakes. Again, I don't really want to see any of the white, so I'm just going to make sure to adjust this so when I put this panel on top, I see as little white as possible. Again, so sorry for the headshot. Yes, those are called sparkly grays because I'm not dyeing my hair anymore. I will go ahead and take a pencil and just lightly trace around that oval so I know where to put it back when I place it back onto the card. So I'll grab my Hero Arts adhesive and place that down. And I like using wet adhesive. It gives me the opportunity to wiggle things around. One more time, really nice big headshot. So yeah, you can definitely see all the grays here. But I'm embracing them. I'm embracing them. Like, you know, it's going to save me like $200 every like 6 weeks. So we're good. It just means I get to spend more on crafting. I am going to add in some beautiful sequins, and this sequence as well is from Hero Arts, and this has little stars in it and white and clear sparkly glitter and sequins. I love it. So I'm going to not overfill this because I do want you to still see the snowflakes behind, but I'm going to put a decent amount. I don't want to end up closing up my card and being like, darn, I should have added more sequins. So I am going to add a little bit of a hefty load here, but I left enough that I am going to be able to see the snowflakes from behind. So I am using a little bit of glue as well on top of that tape. Again, it gives me that wiggle room. So when I place this down, I have an opportunity to slide it or maneuver it a little bit before it actually adheres to the card base. So I'll gently just kind of line that up. Again, that glue is giving me some wiggle time. And then when I have it where I want it, I can go ahead and press down. And look how gorgeous that is. I mean, we have the sparkle in the laminated pouch. We have the sparkle from the sequins, but we can still see our silver snowflakes do that. I think that's just such a pretty way to end off a cute little shaker card. Now, as you can see, I have no sentiment. So I'm going to grab in my stocking bouquet from Hero Arts, and it has a gorgeous Merry Christmas that's going to fit right across the middle of that little opening. Now I'm not getting rid of any paper here. So this was one of the ovals that I cut from when I cut the frame out. This is the center part. I'm going to use that. Again, no waste here. I'm going to use that to stamp out my sentiment. Now, of course, you could have just placed the oval back in, but then that would not be a shaker card. And we needed to do a shaker card because I believe I do one every year. I believe I do. So I'm going to line that up right on that oval. And then I can pick it up with my mini Misty and I can go ahead and heat emboss this. Now, I do want to keep all of my colors the same. So I am going to heat emboss this in the silver embossing powder. So I'll lightly press that down. I don't want to really smush too hard on this because I don't want my letters to like kind of get fat from the pressure. So I will do that one more time because again, I want a really good impression before I add on my embossing powder. Once I have that stamped out, I can go ahead and bring back in my embossing powder and go ahead and place that on here. Again, this navy and silver and these snowflakes, everything just makes me so happy with this card. I think it's super, super elegant. And again, like I said, these snowflakes can work for masculine cards. So keep that in mind because I know sometimes you really, really struggle with making masculine cards. I know I do. And this would just be a beautiful way. Oh, geez, browns and golds, and this would be magnificent in browns and golds for a gentleman. Oh, so pretty. So I'll heat up my heat gun again and getting it nice and hot before I bring it over to my paper. And then I'll go ahead and start heating that again, front to back, so we can melt that a little bit faster. Now, if you are new to my channel, I really hope you're being inspired and I hope you will have the opportunity to go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as hitting that bell so you will know when I go live. So like I said, if I just place that back in there, it would work, but then it wouldn't be a shaker card. So what I'm going to do is bring in my trimmer, and I'm going to use that little guide that is on this trimmer to line up my sentiment. So I'm going to have it just touching the top of my Merry Christmas. And then I can go ahead and press down. Now, when I rotate that and I do the same thing to the other side, I know my sentiment is going to be even in that little space, in that little blue area. So you just use the guide, bump up your sentiment right next to it. Hold that little plastic piece down so your paper does not shift. And then go ahead and press. And now I know my sentiment's going to be evenly lined up. And what's so great is that I didn't cut off the end parts. So it was going to tuck nicely into the corners of the little oval. So you can still see there's so much happiness going on with this card. We have the glitter and the sparkle. And you guys know that. I need to see that on my cards. But it's not overpowering. So again, it could be masculine or feminine cards. And we have the shaker bit component. I mean, this is a win-win all the way around. So I'm just going to press that into place. I needed to pick it up just to make sure. And there we have it. We have a gorgeous, simple shaker card, masculine or feminine, for all of our card making needs. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget, there'll be pictures over on my blog. There'll be close-ups. And don't forget to come back tomorrow for day 3 of the holiday card series. Until then, you guys take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.